We're with Ryan Tagnelia. Ryan is a criminal defense attorney in San Diego, California, and he's agreed to answer some questions related to theft and theft charges. These are online questions that were posted. And with that said, Ryan, let's go into the first question that was posted. This says, I was arrested a long time ago for shoplifting, was told that if I ever pick up another theft charge, it would be a felony. Well, I fell in hard times, and you can guess what happened. Am I going to be a felon?
Maybe, but probably not. Depending on how long ago the first arrest was, we still have a statute, but there's a crime called petty theft with a prior. And that is when someone commits the crime of petty theft and they have a prior conviction for a petty theft. Back several years ago, it used to be that if you had one prior for petty theft and you picked up another one, that second petty theft would be a felon. Or a felony, excuse me. That's how you hear about those cases about people going to prison for stealing slices of pizza. It was almost always they did shoplifting or the pizza guy, for example, and then they had a prior theft conviction. We changed that several years ago, where now it requires more than one. It requires 3 prior convictions. And so depending on when your conviction was, and if you have any others, then the answer is probably not. But nonetheless, it's something to look into, so you should contact an attorney and see if they can help you. At a minimum, they can just go down to the courthouse and pull your file.
Okay, next question we said, or was posted, was the prosecutor on my case wants me to pay back the money I stole, but I don't have that much money. Am I completely screwed?
It depends on what you mean by completely screwed. I mean, on any case involving theft, repayment of either the money or the value of the item stolen or whatever is, not only is it going to be required, there's nothing anyone can do about it. The law says quite specifically that victims in theft crimes, or property crimes for that matter, are entitled to what's called restitution. You can quibble over how much restitution is owed, but if any property was taken or any money or anything like that, then you have to pay it. Depending on the type of theft we're talking about, it is fairly common for the prosecutor to make a deal that is contingent upon repayment of the money. So as an example, if you pay back all the money prior to sentencing, I will reduce your case to a misdemeanor. And that's why it's important to contact an attorney and be represented by an attorney that's familiar with those types of crimes, or restitution is going to be very important, especially because you really don't want to run into someone who's just going to take all of your money and then come back and say, by the way, the DA's decided they need all this money up front or you're going to be a felon, and you're in the position where you gave all the money to the lawyer. So you want to make sure it's someone that you can trust and that has your best interests in mind when you meet with them for that free consultation that most of us offer.
Okay. Next question is, I haven't been arrested yet, but I'm suspected of stealing from my job. What should I do?
Step number 1 is to make sure you don't say anything to anyone, and you should probably hire an attorney. If you're being investigated at work, it really depends on what you mean by investigated. Are you being investigated by your employer? Are you being investigated by the police? If you're just being investigated by your employer, you may want to have the assistance of someone who can help you have the matter go away quietly. Once law enforcement becomes involved, even if your boss gets all of his money back and he or she's not interested in pursuing charges, once the police are involved, it's not really up to your boss anymore. So you do oftentimes want to get a jump on these things, even though the police may not even be involved yet.
Okay, next question is, I'm being wrongfully accused for workman's comp. I haven't gone to court yet. What's going to happen?
Oh, man. These cases are very common in San Diego. For whatever reason, I'm not entirely sure why, the insurance company that covers workers' comp cases, they essentially fund prosecutions for people that they believe are defrauding them from workers' comp fraud. You see the billboards all over the county. It's a really big deal because it is a problem. And what they typically do is they have their investigator go out and they film one of those videos, like you see on Dateline or whatever, where the person is surfing or doing something like that, and they almost always just want their money back. But it's very important to contact someone early on, because I can't tell you how many people have come in here where they've been filmed doing something athletic, and they come in screaming that the DA has charged them with a felony and their doctor told them to do that, or this particular athletic activity is not in conflict with what their affliction is, and it can get very complicated and be very frustrating. And so you want to talk to someone early, and that is one of those cases, like I just mentioned before, where money's almost certainly going to be an issue.
Okay, my husband is the caretaker for his disabled mother and is accused of selling her jewelry and keeping the money. How much trouble is he in?
A lot. There is a special subcategory of theft crimes involving, well, when the victim is older and under the care of someone. They treat those crimes much more harshly than they would someone who, I don't know, someone that cleans houses for a living and grabbed a watch. And so your husband does need to be very careful. And the short answer is he's in a lot more trouble than someone similarly situated that had stolen from a random person instead of someone under their care.
Okay, and second to last question is, and I guess you touched on this a little earlier, but does it matter if I gave all the items I stole back?
Legally speaking, no. Practically speaking, maybe. Again, one of the things you learn very early on in law school when you take criminal law is, once the property is taken, the crime is over. The crime of theft, very broadly defined, is taking the property of another person with the intent of personally depriving that person of that property. Subsequent forming of the intent to give it back doesn't matter. As soon as you pick up whatever it is, say, I don't know, this pen, as soon as you pick up this pen that doesn't belong to you and you intend to keep it, well, you just stole it. It doesn't matter if you even take one step out the door. That being said, kind of like what I was touching on earlier with the person who is under investigation for stealing from work, arranging the return of the property or giving the person their money or property back can sometimes help the police to just simply not come involved at all. This is especially true with larger retail stores. People that are arrested by the loss prevention officer for shoplifting, sometimes you can do what's called a civil compromise and just kind of sweep the whole thing under the rug. So, like I said, on a practical level, does it matter? Yes. You obviously, if you returned it, you hope that you can make the whole thing go away without law enforcement coming involved. But if law enforcement is involved and you're arrested, the fact that the person recovered all of their property is not a defense.
Okay, and the final question we had, and this mentions a retailer, but I caught shoplifting at Walmart, and when security came to grab me, I ran. When I got to court, I was told I was charged with robbery. What's going on?
Yes, the famous Estes robbery. Robbery we discuss more thoroughly in the violent crime section because it's one of the more severe crimes that there are and carries stiff punishments. But it is also a theft crime. Robbery is when you take property from someone either with actual use of force or the threat of force. There was an appellate case called Estes where the appellate courts decided that the use of force could include using force to effectuate your escape, even though you already have the property. And so it's not uncommon for people to engage in shoplifting, and then they're confronted by a loss prevention officer, and there's a light struggle, and they're running, and they run, and they get away, and the district attorney's office charges them with robbery. Needless to say, that ups the possible consequences by quite a large margin. And those cases are typically a lot more involved than your standard, just property theft case. And you definitely want an attorney who's experienced with both violent crimes and theft crimes to handle that for you.
Excellent. Well, if you have any other more questions for Ryan, you can post them to the comment section below. With that said, thanks for your time, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. We'll talk to you again soon. And anyone, if you ever have questions about crimes involving property or theft, please give us a call, 619-577-0868. We'll be more than happy to talk to you, and we do offer that free consultation. Thanks. I'll talk to you soon.